Hello, everyone. Welcome to Surviving with Unglossed. We are so excited to welcome you in this first episode. My name is Adam, and I'm joined today by Tara and Emily. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
We're good, thank you. Hi.
Amazing. And, I mean, we should probably tell you a little bit about what this podcast is all about, what we're all about. So, at Unglossed, we love pop culture, and we love analysing pop culture, of course. And so we decided to do this podcast about surviving in our favourite pop culture environments. And today we're kicking it off with a very iconic pop culture environment. We are packing our bags and flying to Mallorca because we're going to the Love Island Villa. So we're going to see how Tara and Emily would survive in the Love Island Villa. How are you guys feeling? Are you excited?
I'm super excited. I've packed my bags. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I've got that suitcase with my name on it.
Yeah. Water bottle as well.
Yeah, I got
Don't
water
forget
bottle.
the water bottle. Amazing. Well, let's dive straight into it. So obviously, Love Island is something that we're all very passionate about. We love Love Island at Unglossed, and it gives us so much to talk about. So do you guys feel like you would fit in well at Love Island?
I don't think so.
No?
I think to be on Love Island, you kind of have to be quite like outgoing, and you have to really like push yourself. And I don't feel like I'm that type of person.
Yeah, I think I definitely wouldn't be one of the like outgoing characters. I'm not going to be a fae who's like says it how it is. I'm probably going to like if I am surviving, I'm probably hiding in the background.
Yeah. That's the reason I've survived, because everyone's forgotten about me.
Well, for the sake of today, you're going to have to try your absolute best to survive in the villa. And I'm sure you'll do well. But, this wouldn't be Unglossed without an expert opinion. And so we've got Lydia Guttridge today, who's an assistant psychologist. And so she's very kindly answered a few questions for us to explain a little bit more about the kind of psychological angle of this discussion. So this is what she said about what a typical islander is like.
Typically, that person might be quite extroverted due to the confidence that they have to form new interpersonal connections, and also their own self-esteem and level of confidence to apply for the show with what you would presume is a belief that they are going on the show to be successful. Another thing that is maybe not as obvious is for those individuals with a secure attachment style, as this may mean that they can manage jealousy or new bombshells coming into the villa without feeling that their relationship might be at risk or that their relationship isn't going to progress. Going into the villa, it's a really heightened and artificial environment. So being able to regulate emotions in times of conflict is really important to manage the islander's own emotions and also to get through the show.
I think that's so true what she says about it being an artificial environment, because there really aren't that many day-to-day situations that were put in that are as artificial as something like the Love Island Villa. How do you guys feel you would deal with that? Emily, what do you think?
I mean, you're constantly surrounded by cameras, and I think particularly for those first few days, you're going to be so hyper aware of that. And I really don't know how I would... I know I wouldn't be fully myself on all of those cameras, but how that would present itself, I don't think I would know until I was there.
Yeah.
But then everyone does always say that you kind of forget that the cameras are there, but I'm not convinced that I would forget.
No.
Like you look in every corner and there's a camera.
Yeah.
I don't...
And even the mic they wear around the neck. I just think, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable knowing that everything I say, even things I say to myself, it's just going to get picked up, and some producer's going to listen to that.
And it's not even just things you say; it's like things I do. Like, what if they catch me like, I don't know,
talking to myself.
Do you go to the? I mean, I always wondered. Do you guys know what they do when they go to the bathroom?
I was just gonna say. So when they go to the toilet, like they basically have to keep their mics on, but they have to basically tell the producers like I'm going to the toilet, and then the producer will turn their mic off. I'm sure that's what they said.
Oh,
but
God.
I just feel like that's so humbling.
It is a very, very fake environment, to be honest. But what you were saying about the cameras and being watched, that really ties into this theme of panopticon culture that also Flo wrote an article about on the website, and how we act differently when we know that we're being watched. I feel like it would be really interesting to see maybe a comparison where contestants don't know that they're being watched, like a social experiment. what do you guys think of your first impressions to viewers? What would you try and kind of push as a first impression?
I think I would just very much try and push like the nice girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have some people go in and, like you said, they're just very like, say it how it is. I don't
Yeah.
have a filter. I don't think I would have that. I would just be very like, oh, like I'm just going in
Love
to
you.
find love.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hi,
Do you know what I mean?
everyone.
Just play it
think-
innocent.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on.
Do you think viewers like that kind of good person vibe, you know, can do no wrong?
Yeah, I think it's just a safer option. Like, I feel like, again, if I was very upfront and I was very say it how it is, it can go either way. People either love it or hate it. Whereas you can't really hate, like, the nice girl. But then, again, some people do.
Sometimes they do, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on, like, the edit you get.
Yeah.
Because, like, sometimes people come off really well. Like, Molly Marsh, I think her name is. She was
Oh,
on it
yeah.
a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. She was really lovely, but did end up sort of getting a bit of a dodgy, like, reputation
Yeah.
when she came off of it. But then I do find with the people that go in a little bit more strong and upfront, they're not liked so much when they're in there, but then when they come out, everyone loves them. So,
Yeah.
like, Maura Higgins and
Yeah.
Faye, like,
Anna.
everyone. Yeah, Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it depends, but yeah, I'm probably taking a
Yeah.
nice girl and
Yeah.
hoping it works.
I do think that's a little bit safer than going for the wild card kind of, be a bit unpredictable,
Yeah.
maybe lash out at someone, you know, God knows why.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can be a villain, but you can be loved as a villain,
Yeah.
and that can take you really far, but it can also
And
be
we need that.
detrimental.
Yeah.
Like, we need them on the show. We need the
Absolutely.
villains. Except I'm
That's
not the
not me.
person to
Yeah.
be
No,
doing
that's fair enough. And how would you guys go about balancing your own kind of wishes and goals and aspirations and maintaining some kind of a character? You know, if that contradicts where you need to maintain this persona that you want to show the public to gain sympathy with them, but there's also things that you've got to do for yourself. How would you balance that?
I think Lydia said something about having a secure attachment style and how you have to be okay, you know, when people come in with, like, when you feel jealousy and when
Yeah.
new bombshells come in. And that's a really good... The people who do well are secure. But there's always people on it that aren't secure and are so, like, jealous and, like,
Yeah.
lack sort of, like, confidence in themselves and in their relationship. And I think that's why people sometimes do themselves a bit dirty. I think, not dirty, but do themselves in because they get so attached to, like, a really early relationship and then they come off way too possessive and then
Yeah.
end up ruining it for themselves.
Yeah.
So I think I would try and be really, like,
Open.
yeah, at least for the first few weeks, I try and keep it cool
Yeah.
and cool, calm and collected,
Yeah.
not get too attached to anyone.
Yeah.
Tara, what about you?
Yeah, but then I get that, but at the same time, I feel like you never know how you're going to react when you're in there. Like, I feel like if there's someone that I really like and it's such, like, an intense environment, I probably would just, like, I would try not to, but I would attach myself to them. But then again, I would like to say I have a secure attachment style. So, I don't know.
Well, let's have a listen to what Lydia had to say about this kind of balancing act.
Balancing the dilemma of being liked by islanders and, you know, an islander's own desires and goals can be really difficult to do. I think as humans, we all seek a sense of belonging within a group. And if we looked at this from the angle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, actually that sense of belonging, the need to feel part of a group and to be liked to do so, is actually more important to us than our own needs of self-esteem or self-actualisation. Especially in the scenario in Casa Amor, being liked by islanders reduces the chance of you being voted off. And also having that friendship within the Casa Amor will probably help you to, you know, get through the really difficult challenges that you face, the interpersonal relationship breakdowns. But at the same time, I suppose that brings about its own challenges. Say two people like the same person, but because they have formed that relationship and want to be liked, then they might not go after their desire or their goal, if you like.
it is really interesting how much of Love Island is just group psychology, like
Yeah.
group mentality.
Yeah.
And how influential on a show about love, sorry, that friendships have ended up being. I feel like they weren't as important in the first sort of series.
Yeah.
But now, like, particularly the girls, they really form bonds in there. And if you start breaking them, that's where things start to go wrong.
Yeah.
And what you said about Casa Amor, having friends in there to, like, help you through it can be really, like, vital, I think. I think that will really help. But, like, if you like the same guy, like,
Yeah.
what's going to get you further in the show?
It's true, because also at the same time, I feel like a lot of people go in for careers rather than love. And obviously with a career, you're going to have to be liked. If everyone hates you, you're not going to go far after the show. So what Lydia was saying does make sense, that you would kind of focus on what would make you be liked rather than what you actually need.
Yeah.
'Cause,
That's such a good
yeah.
point. Yeah, I feel like unless you've built like a really, really close bond where you actually feel like it could last on the outside, that element of being liked might come first.
It would be a bit of a dilemma though in your head.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do?
Do you think you guys would be able to form like significant, substantial bonds with people, like make friendships in there, with it being such a fake environment? Do you think that would be you could form genuine friendships there?
I think so. I feel like when it's such an intense environment, as much as you're in there for love or whatever you're in there for, you can't really get through it unless you have like a friendship.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just life in general. You need like friends or like family or like something that's non-intimate, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also because you're in there for it's such an intense situation, and you're in there for so long, and you don't have phones, you don't know the time. Do you know what I mean? All you really do is talk to each other.
I think it's almost impossible to not make
be
friends.
Yeah.
Interesting. And now let's move on to something that we all know is coming, which is the bombshells. They always bring someone in to just shake things up. The producers have an absolute field day. But how do you think you guys would deal with this? If it's a bombshell that is threatening to you, or the person that you're coupled up with starts talking to them, how would you guys feel about this, Tara? What do you think?
It depends how early on in the process it is. If it's in the first like 3 weeks, first half, let's say, obviously if I liked someone I would be a bit threatened, but at the same time you can't really like, that's the show.
Yeah, I think I would, like you say, depending on how far into the show I think my reaction would be different. But I think if it was in that sort of first half, I think I would be quite almost like passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Like if someone I liked like started talking to them, I'd be like, that's fine. Like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I would be very much like, if you can take him, take him. Do you know what I mean? You can have him.
Have you guys ever had like a holiday romance where everything is just really heightened and it's just like time is non-existent, and it's like, that's what happens in Love Island, I think, is that they have like the honeymoon phase after they've been together for like a few days, you know? How do you think this would change things for you?
I think I always think that Freshers Week is like just like Love Island, in the sense that you're just like thrown in an environment that doesn't feel real with all of these new people, and like that experience is heightened because like it's not just your like romantic feelings that aren't like, I guess, stabilized. It's everything. Like you've been put in this villa or Freshers
halls.
Yeah, or halls with all these people you don't know, girls and boys. You're in an unknown environment and you sort of just go into like a fight or flight mode almost, and just launch yourself in there. Well, that's what I did anyway in Freshers Week. Just launch yourself in that and hope for the best.
Yeah, you kind of have to though.
Like throw as much as at the wall
Yeah.
until something sticks.
Yeah.
Would that be a strategy for Love Island?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, let's hear what Lydia had to say about jealousy on Love Island.
In Love Island, jealousy is probably heightened just due to the intense nature of the environment and the show, and the pressure on islanders to look for a relationship. I think the fact that there is the added element of a financial prize, there may be jealousy in seeing others couple up, but also we don't really know about the islanders' past relationships and whether their trust has been broken. So I think, on an individual basis, it would be for the islanders to be aware of that jealousy and naming it, but thinking, if feelings of jealousy are coming up for them, then what is this making them think about? Where is it coming from? Is it because of a past relationship? Is it because of their own insecurities?
I definitely do feel like not knowing about the islanders' past is, I think, something that's very overlooked.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's really interesting, because I feel like you look at them and you're just like, they're just there. They don't have they're not real people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
I think sometimes it does become pretty obvious pretty quickly, like who's had their trust broken.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like the way sometimes people react to things, girls and boys, this same amount, to be honest, but the way some of them react to things, like Toby, of Toby and Chloe, he clearly had never been able to just like, and what was
Tyreek.
Tyreek and Ella, you could tell like they'd never been able to truly settle themselves in the in any relationship. And then when they finally get somewhere, you could see them trying to pull back every now and then.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. How do you think that you would deal with jealousy? I mean, do you face jealousy? Do you struggle with that?
Not a huge amount, to be fair. I just feel like I'm very much the type of person that's just like, I don't really care about things enough to like...
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So you'd be fine in Love Island.
Well, potentially. I don't know. Well, but the thing is, I say I have this front, but then deep down, I know I would be like jealous. But in Love Island, I would just be like, no, I don't care.
Fine,
do what you want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would be similar. I think the only thing would be like being left alone at Casa Amor, like around the fire pit. But that's an element of like humiliation, I think, rather than jealousy per se. Probably a little bit of both, but...
Yeah, because I was looking at this research and it was saying that being humiliated in front of people is like, you will have such a much more intense reaction than if you were humiliated just in public. Like if someone just in general life, if someone cheated on you, obviously that's a bit like, not humiliating, like it's not your fault obviously, but if that was me in Casa Amor, I would have such more of an intense reaction because I know people are watching and have seen what's just happened to me.
Yeah. Well, do you think that the second-hand embarrassment is actually that bad? Because I've read that second-hand embarrassment is a sign of quite high levels of empathy that people have. You know, like, well, we call it second-hand embarrassment. I think scientifically it's called vicarious embarrassment, when you feel embarrassed on behalf of someone else, but it actually shows that we have quite high empathy. So do you think that would change the way you think about it, knowing that going in?
Yeah, but then, well, I clearly don't have much empathy, because I was just about to say, whenever I see people like in Casa Amor and they come back alone, I don't really feel embarrassment for them.
No,
I feel sad.
Yeah.
But then
which
is a type of
empathy, yeah.
Like the Casa Amor contestants that come in for the 3 days and then they go. Again, not being paid. Right, yeah. Well, Lydia had some tips on dealing with jealousy. Should we listen to that?
Let's go.
There's different ways that they could manage that, and it might be trying to challenge them thoughts independently, talking to a trusted islander and letting them know how they're feeling and maybe why they're feeling this way. Or there's more practical techniques, taking themselves away for some quiet time to reflect, engaging in a meditation, or even sometimes if it's bringing about anxiety, which often accompanies jealousy, using techniques such as box breathing to try and regulate the breath and activate the rest and digest system.
I wonder if they do that, if they have any like meditation sessions or mental health and well-being sessions.
I remember when Georgia was on All Stars and she had the I saw your dead granddad moment, but she was constantly doing meditation and she was getting everyone involved. But again, talking about Molly Marsh, she quite often would take herself off and just sit by herself. And she actually didn't go down that well in the villa because people felt that she didn't want to hang out with, she didn't like them as much. But really, she was just taking time for herself. So it is hard in an environment like that to know what you should do and what is best for you, and actually doing that.
How did she do in her season of Love Island? I don't know if I remember her.
Yeah, she got to the final.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Second
And
or
how
third.
would you compare the way that she behaved and the way that she kind of interacted on her season and on All Stars?
I think what I enjoyed about Molly was she just kind of stayed in her own lane.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't really get involved in anything. She just, again, like, I would probably be like her. Like, I would have to take my own time. Like, I don't think I could be talking to people constantly. My social battery would run out. But I liked that she was just there for, you could tell she was just there for her relation. Well, she was probably there for a career as well, but...
Yeah, she wanted to be a presenter.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
But she was there for her relationship. She didn't really get involved in drama,
Yeah, yeah.
which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, let's move on now to an integral step of Love Island, and we all expect it every season. It's Casa Amor. It brings so much drama and so much content, to be honest. I mean, it just generates so many different relationships and dynamics. And I feel like a big part of the entire process of Casa Amor is all about temptation, loyalty, and greed. How would you guys deal with being sent to Casa Amor with the new group? You know, being an original cast member, how would you feel being sent to the new villa with an entirely new group of men?
Well, it depends if I've got someone or not.
Yeah.
If I've got someone, then I'd be like, oh, but if I'm not,
free game.
it's like a candy shop.
I do actually like that, but I feel like most years there's always one person in either camp that is just completely single.
Yeah.
And just it's just
Free
like, this is
reign.
so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I was to have someone in the other villa, ultimately you know that there's nothing you can do, and it's so hard to watch when you see these girls like really like freaking out over at Casa Amor, and then it cuts to like their partner just going absolutely feral. But yeah, I think you've just got to, easier said than done, but you've got to sort of just be like, okay, this is the life for 3 days. I'll get to know these boys. You know, if a connection really strong comes along, maybe we'll explore it. But
And what about if you got sent in as a Casa Amor contestant? Would you do that in the first place?
I'd hate it.
yeah, I don't think I'd be good. I'd do it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's the experience, but you're literally having to go in. Like we said, you have to be in Love Island, you need to have a certain level of like balls. You need to be a bit outgoing. But to go in Casa Amor, that's a whole different ball
that's
game.
a whole
like you would have
level,
another level of balls you would need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't have. I would try it, but I'd definitely be that one that doesn't get any screen time. Be like,
I'm sure for
oh,
a free
she's in there.
holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, I find it brutal every time because it's like we all expect the Casa Amor episodes, and they introduce all these people, and they just go through them one by one. They just say their name, next one, and you barely get to know them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're like, and then they're trying to get with like someone that's been in a couple since episode 3, and it's like it's just not going to work, is it? You know, unless they can somehow magically win them over. And it's just really painful to watch sometimes.
But then again, sometimes you do get people that you can tell are just going in to just stir it up a bit.
Yeah.
True.
Cause a bit
Yeah.
of drama and then leave. Like, they don't actually want to get into the villa.
Casa girls do have a really unfortunate like success rate as well. Like off the top of my head, I think there's only one Casa relationship that lasted, and that has lasted but done well, and it was Kai and Sanam, and they ended up winning.
Oh yeah.
But I think she's the only Casa girl to have won.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
What about that?
Yeah, and when you come in as a Casa contestant, I always think like about Amber and Michael, I think she was with, and Kaz.
Yeah.
And like
Oh, I remember Michael.
Yeah, she ended up winning essentially because everyone loved her, but because of what Michael did in Casa, it just like solidified her as like she's the queen.
Was that the 2 days scandal?
That was that season. It wasn't that
oh, no,
girl,
it
but
wasn't
that
Amber.
season.
That
yeah.
was like, what was her line? She had a line around the fire pit. She was
Yes,
like,
yeah, because she got left
yeah.
alone there, didn't she, by the
Yeah.
fire
I
pit?
can't remember what she said.
No.
Yeah.
Shauna had congrats, hun,
yeah.
but I can't remember what Amber said. But she did have an iconic
Yeah,
line.
yeah, I do remember that.
But yeah,
I think I had just finished my GCSEs at that time when that was coming out. So obviously Casa is a very difficult environment for the new contestants, and they face a lot of backlash for trying to shake things up, trying to get with a couple, and even if they're going for the single contestant, it's still kind of like they get portrayed as desperate, as trying too hard. There's just no winning, right?
Yeah.
How do you think that you would deal with backlash? Or, I mean, you don't really have to deal with backlash, but how would you feel knowing that there are all kinds of things being written and tweeted and posted about what you're doing, and you don't even know what? How would you process that?
I actually think that's probably one of the things that I would struggle with the most, thinking like, how are they portraying me? What are people saying? But then at the same time, when you go into Love Island, you do kind of have the expectations like people will definitely say
People
stuff.
will say stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You obviously hope everything that's said about you is gonna be good, but there's no way of ensuring that. And I think when you go on, you have to sort of like reside yourself to the fact that you will get hate. And Luca said that when he went on the second time, one of the biggest things he struggled with was knowing he was probably going to get hate on the outside, but not for himself, but for his sister, because his sister ran his socials when he was in there. And the first time he was on it, Luca was quite a character, and his sister got all of this hate directed at her about her brother.
Right.
So then when he went on for All Stars, he felt really bad for his sister. So it can take a real knock, and you just have to have your support in place, I guess, before you go in, for after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is what Lydia said about the trolling that islanders can often face.
Despite the trolling and the negative experiences that people have on Love Island, people still look up to those islanders that have completed the programme and gone on to be successful. So if you look at the likes of Molly May. So in psychology, there's a theory called the social comparison theory. And at times, what we may do is an upward social comparison. And that means we look at people who we perceive as better than us. And sometimes that can motivate us to improve or to follow in their footsteps. But obviously, the implication of if we don't achieve that success is that it can have a really negative impact on our self-esteem.
Do you think that having those success stories would motivate you to stay in the program and to keep trying? Or would that be a factor for you?
I really think if I was to try and survive Love Island, I would go in with the expectation, the lowest of expectations.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to come out of this and I'm going to go back to a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Because I think, because you do see it a lot where these people go in and they just don't get the success. And I feel like Molly May is an anomaly, although there are loads of other successful contestants. She is just like a whole nother level that I don't think will ever be able to be replicated. And yeah, I think I would go in with that assumption of, okay, I'm going to come out and I'm going to go back to my 9-to-5 job afterwards. And if something else happens, amazing.
Because they always say just expect disappointment and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of the mindset I would be. Like, I would just, wouldn't go in with any expectations. But then it's hard not to.
Yeah, like, obviously a little bit of you will be like, oh,
hope I get followers.
yeah, 50k Instagram followers would be nice right now.
Yeah.
And there's an element of like, you know, like self-gratification in there, being like, look how many Instagram followers I have, guys. Yeah. External validation.
Have you dealt with some times when there's a lot of pressure to excel in something, and has that impacted your mental health? Have you had something that you could say is maybe similar to what this would be? I mean, obviously we have stuff like exams, and it's like an extended period when you've got to perform 24/7 around the clock.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Do you have any?
I just spiral.
Methods?
I would say the closest thing I have to that is like academic stress. Like
Yeah.
I really get in my head about like I need to perform well, I need to prove myself. Do you know what I mean?
And how do you deal with it? Do you? Well, you said you spiral, but
Yeah.
how would you deal with that in an ideal world
I
on
think
Love
it's
Island?
all just about like reminding yourself that it's never that deep. You know?
Yeah.
It's like what was that girl that was like, is it that deep though? Is it what was that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, I think I would just be like,
Is it that deep?
the world keeps spinning at the end of the day. No one's gonna die.
I love saying that.
Yeah.
And the world kept spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was to crash out on Love Island after a day, the world would keep spinning.
That's what I mean.
That's
It would
okay.
keep spinning.
Yeah.
And you know what? You'd probably get a few headlines too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I don't think there's, what's the saying? There's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah.
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 All press is good
Yeah.
press.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyone that gets on, I mean, I know there's been like hundreds of contestants now, but anyone who gets on it, in a way, has made an achievement in themselves. Like, yes,
Yeah.
there's been hundreds of contestants, but there's been hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
applications.
Yeah.
So
That's so
it's
true.
an achievement in itself. to
That would
get
go
on
in the
there.
brag file.
Yeah.
I got on Love Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whack it on the
And
CV.
Even if it's just for a day.
I don't know how true this is, but I think islanders that come out that are famous enough to get recognised, they've done well enough. And the ones that don't get recognised, that's also not bad,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just
Been
carry on.
and they don't have to deal with that. But
That's
if you
so
do
true.
get recognised and if you do get stopped on the street, then it's like, well, fair enough, you've clearly done something right,
But yeah, that's so true what you said. Like, even if you don't get recognised, you just carry on and like you've had that fun experience and it's like
Yeah.
a fun fact. Oh yeah, I've been on Love Island, but then you just carry on.
Yeah,
with your
carry
day.
on, yeah.
Yeah.
I am, this is really random, but Kai, who won Love Island with Sanam, he's gone back to teaching now. And he won it. He still very much can be an influencer,
Yeah.
but has decided to go back to teaching. But I walked past him. I was at a Niall Horan concert in Manchester. I walked past him. I was like, oh my God, that's that guy from Love Island. And I was kind of like, I don't really know what to do here. Because like, I wasn't going to go up and say hi to him because he's just a guy from Love Island.
Yeah.
But I was kind of just like, oh, you do still just go about your daily
Yeah.
business. Like, you won Love Island, but you can go see a Niall Horan concert with your
Yeah.
sister.
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. I think I just forget that they're real people. In my
Yeah.
head, they're just characters and they don't exist outside of Love Island.
Yeah.
But they
do you
do.
think this has been changed a little bit with there being more influencer type people in recent years?
Yeah, I'm actually low-key fed up of influencers going on Love Island.
Honestly.
I miss the sort of like the real people that you get on it.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people nowadays, they're sort of already an influencer before.
Yeah.
And so they go on it with the expectation to grow their following.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even become an influencer.
I remember
just
that
grow.
guy that just sold pens.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know
Who
his
was
name,
that?
but
Oh.
it was that really popular
Jack
season.
and Danny.
Oh, yeah, Jack and Danny, yeah.
Yeah.
And he won.
And he
Yeah.
came in and he was like, "Yeah, I sell pens." And
Oh,
fair enough,
Fair
works in a
enough,
stationery
yeah.
shop, And I like that he doesn't have loads and loads of followers going into the show
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
think at that point it becomes more about a popularity contest and
Yeah.
trying to gain support from people and gain followers and gain brand deals rather than go there to find someone.
Yeah.
That's why I think All Stars is a really interesting show
Mm-hmm.
because you're getting people who have been on it, who have already had a shot at this sort of influencer lifestyle.
Yeah.
Then you throw them back all in together and see how that plays out. And it's really interesting watching. I feel like some people are more genuinely on it for love, but some people are more genuinely on it for followers.
Yeah.
And they're all in the same place.
but I think
Yeah.
you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Like it comes across.
Yeah, for sure.
What I also notice is I think that the older seasons of Love Island were also more authentic in that the people there looked more authentic. And I've
Yeah.
noticed this in a lot of shows that are
Yeah.
like 2010s, like early 2010s reality shows. And there's no filler, no Botox, like nothing
Yeah.
like that. Whereas nowadays, I feel like a big criticism of the last season was that everyone there just looks really similar because they've all had the same things
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a massive thing with the newer seasons of Love Island not feeling as real as they did
Yeah.
before.
Well, yeah, I actually saw a TikTok this morning and it was like throwback to when Love Island was like unhinged, and it was so unhinged back in the day, like season 1 and 2. But now it's not the same, because it's like everyone kind of looks the same. Everyone's in there for the same thing. It's so scripted. They have all these boundaries.
A filter.
Yeah.
Because they want the influencers.
Yeah.
If you were to just put on a guy who sells pens and has no interest in being...
Yeah.
But also, it is worth noting that the previous older seasons of Love Island had a lot less in terms of safeguarding.
Yeah.
And there was a
true.
lot of trouble that the show ran into with mental health. There were always scandals, there were always complaints, and I feel like they're really, like, Love Island is always one of the most complained about shows with Ofcom, and I think they're really trying their best to bring that down.
Yeah.
But this is some advice that Lydia had for mental health on the show, so let's give that a listen.
If someone was planning on going on to Love Island, the advice I would give them to cope with the stress and the pressure of the series would be to reflect on how they would cope with interpersonal challenges and difficult emotions anyway in their day-to-day life. I think, it's really important for people to understand the potential implications of going on the show and being aware that it might not go as planned, and therefore it's really important to hold on to and to understand the motivation for going on the show, and throughout it checking, is it serving this purpose or is this detrimental to my mental health?
There have been in the past a few people who have left sort of early on in the show because they've got there and thought, actually this isn't what I need right now. And I think that's really important to, when you're in there, constantly check, be like, is this what I need? When Amy left after the iconic Curtis Casa Amor, I think that was her sort of checking and being like, you know what, there's actually nothing more that I can get from being in here.
Did she leave or did she get
She left.
eliminated? She
It
left.
was very emotional, lots of tears.
Made me cry.
Same
I do
for
remember
Jax.
the big argument.
Yeah.
Cup of tea. I want to wake up in the morning and make everyone a cup of tea.
Oh yeah.
I was coming back here
God,
to
that
tell
was
you that I
was a
loved
really
you.
good season, actually.
That was a great season.
Also, Lydia spoke about some of the protection measures that the show is taking.
Since the tragic incidents that happened a couple of years ago, Love Island has put some measures in place to try and mitigate the psychological distress that is caused by the show or on the show, and that involves comprehensive psychological support, conversations regarding the impact of participation on the show, and also, as they claim, a proactive aftercare package that offers help with social media training, handling negativity, and also financial management.
I feel like a lot of this goes quite unseen because we don't really hear about this on the show. I think that's all done kind of behind the scenes, but it is so important.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like this is something that you would really value if you were in this kind of environment? Or do you think you'd be like, oh, I'm fine, I don't need that?
I mean, I messaged earlier, I said earlier about, making sure you've got the support in place for before you go in for when you come out. And I think Love Island now sort of help with that. You know to an extent what you can come out to. So I think it's really important that they keep putting in these protective measures. I think it's really interesting that they give financial advice as well, because I think that's something that probably goes underlooked, because you come out to all of these like big brands offering you loads of money, and if you come from a background where that's not a thing, then that's so important.
It is really important. Now, I think we've got to the end of the episode, to be honest, and the end of the show. So I think overall, I think you guys will do well.
Thank you.
I think. You've got a good mindset. Do you feel confident? Would you feel confident going into the show?
I would have to give myself a bit of a hype up. Give myself,
Yeah,
but I think I could do it.
Leave everything, go, right, okay.
Yeah.
You just got to commit.
Yeah.
I think I'd really have to practice the way that I would talk to people. I'd really have to nail the Love Island speech.
Yeah, the lingo.
Yeah.
I need to get the dictionary up.
Yeah. And the way that they just say so many words without actually making a single point.
I love that.
See, I think I'm quite good at doing that, though. Yeah. I think I fit in there. Yeah. Just say loads, but nothing about you.
Yeah. Well, it's been really lovely discussing this with you guys.
Thank you.
And I cannot wait for the next episode when we will be discussing surviving on The Apprentice.
Exciting.
With also a very exciting guest. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you for joining me here today.
Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. And yeah, and we'll see you in the next episode. So
Bye,
thanks for listening
guys.
to Surviving with Unglossed, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.